Okay, so today we're diving straight into one of history's really persistent questions. Who was actually responsible for ending the life of this figure who, well, undeniably left his mark? A very controversial one, though.
Absolutely. We're talking about someone who came from, pretty humble beginnings. Brooklyn, 1906, poor Jewish family, and he got pulled into the criminal underworld almost right away.
Right. From those early days, it sounds like he was involved in, well, just about everything. Protection rackets, robbery, even much worse stuff, a really fast climb into notoriety.
And that path, it eventually led him out west to California. That's where he became a really key player, setting up illegal gambling, drug trafficking, prostitution rings.
It's strange, isn't it? Because his influence also reached into Hollywood somehow. He had these surprising links to big stars of the time.
It is a stark contrast. The underworld deals right alongside Hollywood glamour.
But his ambition, it didn't stop there. 1945, he starts this incredibly ambitious project.
Ah, the Las Vegas venture.
Exactly, building this super lavish hotel and casino. The cost was just
So
enormous.
something like what, over $61 million annually in today's money?
Yeah.
Just staggering.
A huge undertaking. And it obviously needed serious financial backing.
From some very powerful people
Yeah.
who, understandably started to get pretty anxious. They weren't seeing any return on this massive investment.
And that really sets the stage for the mystery that just won't go away. Because despite decades passing and all sorts of theories, we still don't officially know who killed him in Beverly Hills back in June 47.
Officially, no.
So let's get into these theories. Where does the speculation usually start?
Well, the most common one, the one you see in books, in movies, uh, it points to a hit ordered by his own organization, the mob.
Okay, yeah, the classic mob hit theory. Let's unpack that. What would make the people he worked with turn on him like that? What was the breaking point?
Well, there were probably several things coming together. His, let's say, extravagant spending on the Flamingo Hotel and Casino. That was a big one. The project was just bleeding money, and his associates were footing the bill.
Not a good look.
Not at all. And beyond that, reports say he became increasingly difficult, defiant,
Yeah.
refusing to give proper financial reports, even supposedly declaring himself the boss of the California Syndicate.
Whoa, that's a direct challenge.
A huge challenge to the established hierarchy. It messes with the whole power structure, the flow of money and information.
Okay, so motives seem strong there. Are there specific names often mentioned? Potential triggermen?
Yeah, a few names pop up in the speculation. Frankie Carbo is one. Actually, the former Philly boss, Ralph Natal, claimed Carbo was the shooter. Eddie Cannizaro is another name you sometimes hear connected to it.
And what about that almost legendary meeting in Havana? How does that fit into this mob theory?
Right, the Havana Conference. The story goes that there was this high-level meeting of the syndicate bosses. Lucky Luciano, supposedly there, and his fate, our guy's fate, was apparently a major discussion point. Meyer Lansky, even though they were close friends, supposedly had to reluctantly agree that, the situation couldn't continue.
Wow. So a difficult decision, but made at the very top, according to that narrative.
That's the picture it paints, yes. A necessary evil, almost.
That certainly sounds like a strong case for the mob hit. But are there things that don't quite line up? Things that feel, I don't know, off for a typical mob execution?
Yes, actually. There are some inconsistencies people point to. One argument, a compelling one, came from someone close to him. This person insisted no one, absolutely no one, would have dared order a hit without Luciano's explicit okay.
Okay.
And given how tight Luciano and Lansky were, the argument goes, Lansky would have stepped in. He would have stopped it.
That does introduce some serious doubt. What else? Anything about the killing itself?
The method, yeah.
Yeah.
Being shot from outside the house, through a window. That's pretty unusual for the mob back then. They tended to prefer close-range work, make sure the job's done, send a clear message. This felt different.
More impersonal, distant.
Exactly. And then there's the timing, financially. Some evidence suggests that right around the time he was killed, the Flamingo was actually starting to turn a profit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if the main motive was the financial drain, maybe that pressure was easing up.
Although, hang on. Couldn't that cut the other way if it's suddenly profitable?
Precisely. Maybe getting rid of him then made taking over the now successful venture even more attractive. So it's ambiguous.
Right. It complicates the motive either way.
Okay, so if we're questioning the standard mob hit theory, where else does the finger point?
Well, another significant theory revolves around a power struggle, specifically over a very lucrative racing wire service. His ambition put him directly against Jack Dragna.
The big LA crime boss at the time. The very same. And this wasn't just about territory. This wire service was a huge source of income. Dragna apparently really resented his growing power and the money he was making in L.A.
So a direct turf war brewing in California. How bad did it get?
Pretty intense, by all accounts.
Yeah.
It said our subject actually threatened Dragna directly, told him to hand over control of the wire service or else.
Bold move.
Very. And interestingly, right after he was killed, control of that wire service went straight back to Dragna.
Well, that certainly looks like a strong motive, doesn't it? Cause and effect.
It does suggest a clear motive and a quick resolution for Dragna. But, we have to remember, this guy made a lot of enemies. The real killer could easily have been someone totally off the radar, outside these main conflicts we know about.
Good point. It's easy to focus on the big names. What about closer to home? His personal life. His girlfriend, Virginia Hill, she comes up a lot.
Oh yes, Virginia Hill, nicknamed the Queen of the Mob apparently. She had her own powerful connections, involved in money laundering, maybe even blackmail. The theory is that either she, or possibly one of her brothers, could have been responsible.
Okay, what's the story there? What were their potential motives?
Well, that same person who doubted the mob hit theory. They also mentioned an incident where one of Virginia's brothers saw him being abusive towards her.
Hmm.
This brother, either Bob or Bill, apparently a Marine station nearby, supposedly threatened him right then and there.
Wow. And wasn't another brother actually at the house the night he was killed?
That's right, Chick Hill. He was present in the Beverly Hills home when the shots were fired. Adds another layer of suspicion.
So the brothers had motive, maybe opportunity. What about Virginia herself? What could have pushed her?
Well, their relationship was famously stormy. Intense fights, maybe physical abuse as mentioned. That alone could be a motive. Then there are whispers. She might have been skimming money from the Flamingo herself.
Ooh, that would definitely cause trouble.
Big trouble. And potentially enrage him if he found out. Some even suggest she might have been playing both sides, dealing with rival mob factions.
And didn't she leave town right before it happened?
Yes, her sudden trip to Paris just before the murder always looks suspicious to investigators. And her own death later, an overdose in 1966. Some theories suggest maybe she was silenced because she knew too much.
It really paints a picture of a very turbulent, potentially lethal relationship dynamic.
Absolutely. Full of intrigue and danger.
Beyond his immediate circle and the LA scene, were there other, maybe rival organizations that might have wanted him gone?
It's definitely possible. His power was growing, and he was becoming a very public figure, which the mob often disliked. He could easily have been seen as a target by other crime families looking to, remove a competitor or just make a statement in the underworld. It's a plausible scenario, even if specific evidence is thin.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about a more recent theory, one involving Mo and B. Sedway.
Ah, yes. This came out more recently, based on an interview with their son, Robbie Sedway. He suggested his mother, B. Sedway, actually orchestrated the whole thing. B. was married to Mo Sedway, a powerful mobster himself, and interestingly, a childhood friend of the victim.
A childhood friend's wife. What was B's alleged motive then?
According to Robbie, relaying his mother's story, our main subject had threatened Mo, her husband. Mo was apparently tasked with keeping a close eye on the Flamingo's finances because people suspected skimming was going on. B claimed this put Mo in danger.
So she acted to protect her husband?
That's the claim. She then allegedly got in touch with a guy named Matthew Moose Panza, supposedly a truck driver with no previous mob ties.
Yeah.
And Panza was the one, according to this theory, who actually carried out the shooting.
An outsider brought in? That's
Yeah.
unexpected. But what are the problems with this theory, the limitations?
The biggest one, really, is that it relies almost entirely on B. Sedway's account, passed down through her son. Unfortunately, pretty much everyone else who could potentially confirm or deny her story, Mo, Panza, our victim, they're all long gone.
So no way to verify it independently.
Exactly. It remains a fascinating possibility, but it's built on a foundation that's very difficult to test. It's basically hearsay, though compelling hearsay.
Right. With so many credible suspects, so many potential motives, it almost feels like it could have been a group project.
Well, that's sort of the all-of-the-above scenario, the idea that maybe multiple people played a part. Virginia provides access, maybe Mickey Cohen knows the schedule, Dragnet orders the hit, perhaps with a nod from Lansky and Luciano way back.
It ties up a lot of loose ends, I guess.
It does, very neatly, but maybe too neatly. That kind of complex conspiracy, while it covers all bases, often seems less likely than a single strong motive driving one person or group. It gets a bit convoluted.
Yeah, Occam's razor might suggest something simpler. It truly is a puzzle, though, isn't it? Still captivating after all these decades. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, the main question just hangs there, still unanswered.
Absolutely. Despite all these compelling theories we've walked through, the actual definitive answer, who killed him, and exactly why, it remains stubbornly elusive, lost to time perhaps.
The fascination, I think, really comes down to the sheer number of people who had, really good reasons and the opportunity to do it. It speaks volumes about the complex and often very violent world he moved in.
Which leaves us, and leaves you, the listener, with a final thought. Considering all these conflicting stories, the dead ends, the lack of hard proof after so long, which theory feels most plausible to you? And maybe more pointedly, what single piece of the puzzle, if we could just find it, do you think holds the real key to finally cracking this decades-old secret wide open?